The Super Bowl, appealing to everyone with lovers of the sport and lovers of those water cooler commercials. It's a marketer's heaven. To get the Super Bowl spot, it's about $4 million just for that 30 seconds. So that prize 30 seconds, you gotta make an impression and you have to make it count. Today we're going to be talking about one particular ad, not all about the Super Bowl, about, is it actually worth spending a lot of money to be in the Super Bowl, but rather a particular one, which is the fake Crocodile Dundee ad that aired a few months ago. But to talk about that, I need to take you back in time, the 1980s. So meet Paul Hogan, one of Australia's prized possessions. He encapsulates the working class and general tone of Australians. Someone who can make fun of others while not taking anything too seriously. He was a comedic genius in Australia, and it was time for him to bring it overseas. He co-wrote and starred in this one film called Crocodile Dundee, a sleeper hit. The film was made with an $8.8 million budget, but it grossed over $328 million in total. It was only $2 million behind Top Gun that year, like Tom Cruise's Top Gun, that Top Gun. It forever impacted how the world sees Australians worldwide.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Even prior to this, Australia and its people were basically unknown to the Americas. Aside from Mad Max, which, probably thinks that all Australians are crazy and we have a thing for BDSM and leather or something like that. But really made Australian talent viable to Americans in the Hollywood business. If there was no Paul Hogan, it probably wouldn't mean that we would get no Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, Jeffrey Rush, Heath Ledger, Russell Crowe, Kate Blanchett, Chris and Liam Hemsworth, Margot Robbie, and yeah, you get the point. Remember, Paul Hogan was a superstar when that movie came out. He was the it celebrity.
G'day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
He'd go to big celebrity birthdays, and people like Clint Eastwood would come up to him and talk to him, and he even got to sit next to Princess Diana.
When they were a young couple and the world was in love with them. They came out here to Australia and they had little Prince William with them. He was a babe in arms.
With Dundee's character being such a hit, Paul Hogan was everywhere for Tourism Australia.
America? You look like you need a holiday. A fair dinkum holiday. In the land of wonder. The land down under. Come on. Come and say g'day. I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
If we look back at our previous attempts as a country of making a viable marketing campaign to visit Australia to Americans, we've kind of done a bad job. For a place that hosts the most livable city in the world, you'd think we'd find a better way to advertise. But, so far we've only got...
So where the bloody hell are you?
So a lot of our advertisement campaigns for Australia have been pretty poor. We don't really understand why you should visit Australia and have a really good reason. Maybe it is because you can't replace Paul Hogan and his personality. But, a lot of the thing is, what do we actually do as Australians? Is it to visit evil drop bears or eat Tim Tams? Which, by the way, they started to sell in America, and I think that's a bad thing. That was our prized possession, and they just gave it away on its bad move. Let's get back to present day, and Tourism Australia is spending $36 million on this campaign. Currently, inbound tourism from the US brings about 780,000 visitors and a $3.7 billion to the Australian economy each year. Tourism Australia says it wants to increase that to more like about $5.5 billion per year by 2020. Hiring talent like the aforementioned Chris Hemsworth, Margot Robbie, Russell Crowe, and the audience surrogate to Americans that is Danny McBride, someone who was working in Australia beforehand filming Alien Covenant, is an amazing idea. It's an amazing idea because film generally is structured in a way where there's an audience surrogate, and Danny McBride is the American surrogate. So the idea was to stealth announce this film over a few weeks leading up to the Super Bowl show and a trailer for this film. But it really wasn't a film. It's basically like advertisement, but Argo, but for tourism.
I need you to help me make a fake movie.
So you want to come to Hollywood and act like a big shot without actually doing anything?
Yeah.
You'll fit right in.
If I'm doing a fake movie, it's going to be a fake hit.
It stirred up a storm. People were angry that there was a new Dundee film with no Paul Hogan in sight, and on top of that, where did this film even come from? This was a smart move, because before the primetime Super Bowl ad even airs, There's already a lot of people talking about it and articles written on film and entertainment sites. You could say it was a back pilot to see if people wanted to see a Dundee movie. So the commercial aired. I thought it was pretty well done. I like how it was doing something different of what you usually see for Australia. It has the whole, beaches, natural beauties and wonders. Even seeing Paul Hogan don the crocodile leather another time was quite fun. It was well done. And within those few days, it already was worth the money spent. It was watched by 100 million Americans and generated 30 million in free media. The video itself on Facebook generated almost 50,000 comments in 24 hours. Since it was so successful, they've announced another set of series talking about Australia. The advertisement leads you to this website. The website is done really well, however, with such a big push, especially with well-known faces around the world, you would think they'd utilize it a little bit more. The videos are about 3 minutes long and talk to people like Hemsworth and people like Jessica Mauboy about, Australian things, culture, things like that. My personal opinion and what I would have done, it should have gone further. Have someone like Margot Robbie tell you what her favourite places in Brisbane to get brunch are, or Jeffrey Rush talk about the art scene in Melbourne and where to get the best coffee. Yes, I do like how the advertisement wasn't just all beaches. It touched on our amazing food and how to get some of the best wine in the world. But it should have shown that in a daily experience of an Australian in Melbourne to Perth to Sydney, and linking it with a celebrity would be amazing. With having celebrity power, the audience can feel not only the passion for their home country, but what they personally like about their country. What do they do? What type of food do they like? Rather than making talking points that are kind of generic. We have so many amazing events in Australia, in Melbourne particularly. As mentioned before, having the world's most livable city 7 years in a row, to also being a big sports city with amazing appreciation for the arts and getting people overseas involved with something like White Night, or how we can host things like the Arnold Classic to PAX Australia, which is the only international gaming convention that PAX has done. It makes a legitimate reason to go with these big events happening. So there's actually one more thing we actually need to talk about, and that's Will Smith. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was in Australia earlier this year for the Australian Open. Same with Will Ferrell, but Will Smith did something different.
When I saw him out here, I was so nervous, no joke. And I was like, oh my God, I got it, people think I'm cool, but I just wanted him to think I was the coolest person ever.
Is he cool? Do we get a thumbs up? Thumbs up. All right.
Will Smith has 1.7 million subscribers on YouTube and nearly 14 million on Instagram. And this is where his main appeal is and where his market is, where he puts his experience of Australia and what he feels about it. Things like hanging out with the wildlife, trying Australian meat pies.
Ow! It's hot as shit in there.
Talking about our coffee culture.
Coffee is just, it's just regular. It's regular coffee. But in Australia, they have a special name for regular coffee. It's hard for me to order what I like. What is the type of coffee this is? What is it called? It's a long black. It's a long black. Okay.
This is a really great strategy. When you put stuff on YouTube, especially vlogs about traveling and showing first-hand experiences, is a big market on social media. It conveys the audience of what they can do and what they want to do and what they feel like, instead of this bullet points of go tourism to over this place. When you get someone as big as Will Smith doing fun things in our country, it shows it in a really good light. And maybe next time for an Australian tourism ad for Americans, get some Americans in Australia and film their experience as well. Maybe we should do more of these and connect Australian culture to everyone else and show what it's like living here or visiting here. There's a lot of things in this country that never really get seen from the outside. It's actually kind of funny how Paul Hogan and the Crocodile Dundee character has encapsulated the Australian for pretty much anyone around the world, and how, in a sense, we can't really escape it, but we should evolve with it. Thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully I can do more of these videos more often. I know I haven't been really doing them as regularly as I wanted to, because a lot of things happen in my life, but I do want to do it quite regularly. Hopefully one every month, maybe one every 3 days. Not 3 days, 3 weeks, and kind of go from there. For hopefully, if you like this type of content, you can like, share, subscribe, that whole deal. So hopefully I can get more onto the channel. The main reason why I do the podcast is because YouTube really likes algorithms that kind of work on a, upload videos regularly. So I like to do that. And since I'm a one-man army, doing content, there's as much as I can hopefully do. So hopefully you can join me on this journey. So see you guys next time.